program is brought to you by Strategies for Wealth Management.
This is Smart Retirement, sponsored by Strategies for Wealth Management. And my name is Laura Lehrhaupt, and I'm joined today with my husband, Michael Lehrhaupt. Hello. And we are going to talk some retirement planning tips and strategies to help viewers navigate their way into this amazing, exciting part of their life.
Smart tips and strategies.
Smart tips.
Smart retirement.
That's true. We always want to be smart and bright and intelligent about everything we do.
Exactly.
All kidding aside, this is a great time for people, or at least we hope it would be. But a lot of people are stressed, they have anxiety, they're confused, they go down the internet rabbit hole. So
a lot of miscommunication. Look, you know, if you look online, like I always joke around, but if you search online and put Mother Teresa was a saint, you get a ton of hits.
Yes.
And then if you put the opposite, Mother Teresa was not so great, you get thousands of hits, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the Wild West. And we're going to straighten things out.
We are, because it's really hard to know the resources that you're grabbing off of on the internet. But at least here, you and I have been doing this for a very long time, like 30 years or more.
And how long we've been married?
30 years or more. And we've seen a thing or two. Yeah. And we've compiled like a bunch of really important strategies and tips that we know will help people at least make it easier. So,
but I just want to say before we even get started, look, as a certified financial fiduciary, we can sit here and talk about tips and talk about concepts and strategies. But I think it's really, really important before you act on any of it that you need professional advice. I mean, obviously that's what we do when we meet with people, but someone, you know, if you're going to act on something, just make sure, like for us, I could sit here and talk about concepts and strategies, but we need to make sure it's the right ones for the people, right?
That's so true.
Today is about information.
Information, education, and then what you do with it is really telling, right? So we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's talk about something which I really love saying this because I think it's very true. Income equals happiness.
Yes.
Right? Especially in retirement. And the sources...
guaranteed lifetime forever income equals happiness.
That's true. So when you think of income and you think of retirement, where do most people think?
Social Security.
Social Security.
And every time we talk about it, it gets the most popular viewership and it gets the most popular reaction because there's a lot of miscommunication about Social Security.
It's daunting. It's a government thing, and it's hard sometimes to really understand and figure out. But we're going to talk about understanding certain aspects of it. First, I think let's talk about the history of it, because some people don't even realize how long it's been around and what it was meant for.
So Social Security was created in 1935.
It's a long time ago.
The government created Social Security in 1935.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the Social Security claiming age back then was 65.
Okay.
And it was only for the working person, not even the non-working person. It was only for the working person.
Right.
But it's changed since then, obviously.
I think life expectancy,
Life expectancy was maybe 66. So the government knew that this was a benefit they can offer that probably wouldn't cost them a lot to do it because most people didn't live a long time past Social Security.
Right.
When people started living longer, they go, uh-oh. And now you see today, you know, there's some stress on the Social Security, on the department,
on the model, the way they created it. Now I know there's been changes, and we don't know the future. We can only know what we can choose from right now. So,
and I'm not here to predict what's going to happen.
We don't know.
You can read all the news stories about that. I do know there's some trouble, there's some pressure, right? But let's just talk about what we have today, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, and a big question around Social Security, and this is like the top question I always get, is when do I take it? And what's the way I can maximize it? So,
and I'll be upfront. It's not such an easy.
No, it's not.
It's not such an easy question to answer because a lot of it has to do with when we die. Like if I knew the day someone's going to die, I could tell them exactly when to take Social Security.
Right.
But that's really hard to know.
Obviously, we don't know.
So there are some guide rules and some guidelines to go by. But I think it's important to start from the beginning, which is let's talk about the basics of Social Security.
Yes.
What we call full retirement Social Security age where you get your full benefits is anywhere from age 66 to 67, depending when you were born.
Right.
Now, you could take it as early as 62,
yeah.
Or you could wait till 70. If you take it early, it's reduced, right? So if you take it at 62, it's reduced. Every year you wait after, it goes up a little over 7%. Then you got your full retirement
If you
age.
wait, like if you take it at 62, you take it at 62.
Right.
But if you push it and kick the can a little, you get a little bit more,
you get a little more
77%.
until you get to the full retirement age, which is 66 to 67. And then if you delay it, it goes up even more. After 70, it doesn't pay to delay it.
Right.
You know?
So,
remember we talked about the 3 L's, the lifestyle,
longevity, if you have longevity in your family.
And leverage,
And leverage, if you need it to help leverage something. So I think that's a good place to start. We talk about, like, are you done working? Are you stressed by your job? If you are and you're 62, maybe you take it.
Right, we call it the 3 L's.
Right.
It's a litmus test, right?
A litmus
so
test.
The first one is lifestyle. Look, if you're 62, and I have an example, someone came into me and they were 62, and the first 20 minutes of the meeting, they would tell me how stressed they were at their job and how they hated what they did. And I said to him, and he was like, I want to retire tomorrow if I could. And I worked out the numbers between Social Security and his money, and I said, you could retire. And I said, if you wait any longer, you're not going to make it to 66. You have a heart attack,
That's
right?
true.
So it's about lifestyle. If your dream and lifestyle is to retire and you can do it, and it means you take Social Security early, so be it. Because you know what? The break-even point with Social Security is about age 82. If you take it early, take it on time, or take it late, 82.
So if you make it to 82, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. It's all a wash in the long run.
Pretty much.
All right. So another thing to consider when you're thinking about Social Security is the spousal benefit of Social Security.
With the 3 L's, right? You got lifestyle.
Yep.
Right?
Longevity,
right? So the spousal we're talking about.
Yes.
And look, do you have longevity in your genes, or does your spouse have longevity in your genes? Because if you have a good chance of making it past age 82, then you may want to delay it for either you or your spouse. And that's called longevity. And we have no way of proving it, but you can tell from genes sometimes.
Yeah, you can base it off the genes. Right. Yeah.
And then the last, sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, this is one that I always think is really important, is to check the Social Security website and make sure things look right. Because mistakes can happen, right? We're human. People putting things in are human. And it's the government. Mistakes can happen. So you can go visit the website. Anybody, actually, if you've ever worked, you have a website.
Yeah, the government does have a good website where you can check to make sure your numbers are correct. And again, I didn't want to miss the 3rd L. Remember, we said the 3 L's.
Yeah.
So you had lifestyle, longevity, and then you had leverage. And leverage means when you're doing retirement planning, if you have the other money, if you can leverage other money to use to live on and delay Social Security, that may be a good way to do it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So if you can use another resource or another source of income and push and wait to take the social, that's.
Now, the other thing people don't know is, and I find this interesting because a lot of people don't know this. Like we talk about spousal benefits, right? If you're the person claiming Social Security, you get your full Social Security.
Yeah.
Your spouse can either take their full Social Security or half of the spouse's Social Security
and not affect the spouse.
Right.
So they get their full, and if their half is more than your full, you can get their half.
Get their half.
So,
now, also when someone passes away, we have to talk about
another
that.
thing.
Because when one of the two people pass away, you will lose one of the Social Securities. You lose the lower
lesser,
of the two.
The
right?
lesser.
So the person who remains would step up and get the higher Social Security, but one will go away.
And then also if you've divorced from
that's
somebody and you were married for 10 or more years, you have access to the Social Security and you don't affect their Social Security. So it's all good.
There's a lot of little things on this.
There are. And again, I think going to the Social Security website can be helpful too to people. There are tools on there that you might need to use and utilize. Why not? It's available. So
and a lot of advisors have tools to actually run projections of Social Security.
Yes.
Where you can run a projection and show people if you take it early, later on time, what it would look like.
You can get an analysis done.
Look, we do it, but ask your advisor if you're using an advisor, and they have the tools, a lot of them. We do. I know we have it.
Yeah. And there's a saying, actually, we didn't come up with it, but there's a saying, every day is Saturday in retirement. And we're going to talk now about Social Security is one form of income, but then there's retirement plans that you save up, and creating income from those is important too. But every day is Saturday. So this is really important, is knowing that Saturday is the most day you spend the most money you have the most fun,
Yeah.
and every day in retirement is a Saturday. So you have to really plan well in order to be successful.
Because one thing we know from meeting people after people is Social Security is not enough to live on in retirement. At least it's not enough to do all the things you want to do in retirement. The fun stuff, right? So we need extra sources of income. Social Security is a starting point. Then a lot of times we look at the IRAs, the 401ks, the 403bs to supplement retirement. Why?
Oh,
sorry.
No.
I was saying why? Because these are pre-tax money. You never pay taxes on that money when you put it in. And when you take it out, you're going to pay taxes on it. So usually that money is good to take out slowly over time rather than a big lump sum.
So there's a lot of verbiage and terminology. I call it industry mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, let's clear it up.
Where, it's a little bit complicated and sounds like we're really smart, and we are. As we're called smart retirement. But the everyday person may not be familiar with some of this, and I think it's really important to just throw it out there. I always love definitions. So let's talk 401k plans. What are they? What do they offer?
Look, typically 401, well, they're all what we call, the government defines them as qualified retirement plans.
Right.
And qualified means mostly that it's pre-tax money.
They're qualified to defer the taxes.
To defer the taxes.
It's very confusing. People get confusing, but that's what it means.
That's what they call it. So a 401k, for example, you're working for a company. It's a retirement plan through the company where you can put money away on a pre-tax basis and grow it as a tax deferred. And some companies would match some of the money.
Exactly.
It's funny, years ago they had pensions, and pensions became a thing of the past. Some people have them still, but they're kind of dying out. But instead, now the onus is on us, on your 401k to save your money and to make your decision. So 401k is a great way to put away money, tax deferred. We don't have to pay taxes on it. Sometimes a company would match, could be really good. But later on down the road with a 401k, you know what? You're going to have to pay the taxes when you take it out.
You are. And there are certain rules. Every 401k is different. Right, based on the plan that you have. So don't assume anything. Most people don't realize that their plan is unique and they have to find out the rules, and they can just pick up a phone and call their plan and get that.
Now, similar to 401ks is 403bs. Typically 403b is maybe you're working for a nonprofit or
hospital,
an institution
church,
or something like that. And then you have IRAs. And IRAs are individual retirement accounts. So
that's what it stands for, individual retirement accounts.
But I think it's important that all three of them fall into some interesting things. For example, the 59.5 rule.
This is something I think people sometimes don't realize. You really, this is set up as a tax-deferred account, which means you can't take that until you're 59 and a half.
Well, you could.
Oh, excuse me.
But what are you going to pay?
You'll pay a penalty.
Right. So the idea is you could put the money away. There's some benefits to growing it tax deferred.
Right.
Tax deferred growth can grow the money better. Right. Over time. But the trade-off is you really can't touch that money before age 59 and a half, because if you there are some exceptions to it.
Yes, there are.
But if you take the money out before age 59 and a half, not only are you going to have to pay taxes on that money, but the government's going to ding you with a 10% penalty. So you're really not really intended to use till after 59.
So if you're setting up these plans, they're really, really and truly meant for retirement and for when you're ready to retire, and they're not a savings account where you really are, because we never want people paying penalties. The goal is to not pay any penalties.
This is retirement money. That's the goal. Now, there is another account called a Roth IRA.
Yeah, and I love these.
These can be really good, but understand a Roth IRA, you put the money in. There's limitations what you can do. It's how much you can put in depending on your income and things like that. But essentially, you're putting the money away. You're not taking it as a tax deduction. You got to pay the taxes on the money. But going forward on a Roth IRA, the money grows tax-free, and you can take it out tax-free later in life.
Fabulous.
So Roth IRAs can be a great tax-free type of vehicle.
Right.
They're a little different than the traditional IRA or 401k. But again, you're limited to what you can put into it. There's another thing called a Roth conversion, where you can convert some of your traditional IRA or 401k to a Roth. That gets a little more technical outside the details of this show. But it could be worth it, could not. But then, there's retirement rules, and we talked about one of them called the 59.5 rule. Right. That if you take money out before 59.5,
10%.
in most cases you're going to pay a penalty.
Yeah.
Right, and taxes.
Oh, yeah. In addition to the 10%, you got to pay taxes.
But on the opposite end, the government doesn't want you keeping this money in their long-term either.
They want their money. Yeah.
And so
you're going to have to pay required minimum distributions, RMDs.
And I know there's all lingo that we use, and we're trying to clear it up. Right. But there's a lingo called RMDs, required minimum distributions. It has changed over the years.
The age
when you have to take it out. Years ago, it was 70 and a half. You had to start taking out required minimum distributions. Due to the Secure Act and the Secure Act 2.0, now the age is 73. The year you turn 73, you have to now start taking money out of your qualified retirement accounts.
Yes.
401ks, IRAs, 403bs, for example.
Yeah.
And typically, depends on life expectancy. There's a chart. I'm going to roughly say it's about 4% of your total retirement
That's
accounts.
about right, yeah.
But if you don't take it, there's a penalty. So the government wants you to take the money out. Why?
Because they want their money.
They want
and
the
also
taxes.
the penalty on this one is 25%.
Yeah.
Which, ouch, like why would you want to?
Can be really difficult. Yeah.
And taxes. So
I think it's important to be aware of required minimum distributions.
Yes.
Make sure you take the money out.
That's right.
Make sure you understand it. And that's kind of the lingo that we all talk about retirement.
And I just want to say that if you're working with a planner, they should be aware that these RMDs are coming up and notify you. A good planner, a good institution will notify, and usually they do.
Well, not only that, in the years we've been doing this, we've seen so many changes. It's like
it does.
In the last few years, we've seen so many changes that make sure whoever you're using is up to date with those changes.
Yeah, current on the.
I gotta tell you, so much of our time is spent updating and educating on the new changes that happen all the time.
Yeah, that we're updating. Can you imagine the consumer, the ordinary retiree, contemporary retiree, as I like to say, being able to? It's impossible. So that's why it's really important to work with people who are current and on top of the latest, because really a mistake in one of these things could literally cost you money.
And
so
there's a lot of industry meetings.
Yeah.
And sometimes we go to them and I kind of laugh because people think we're away on vacation, and yet we're away on different events, actually educating ourselves.
Got to get educated.
And figuring out and understanding the new rules.
Yeah, it's a lot. All right, so all these rules can make a person feel even more phobic.
Yeah, and I apologize. We're not trying to confuse anybody.
But it's
again,
important.
We're just trying to clear up some of the lingo.
Yeah, so it gets people a little worried and concerned, and do you know there are phobias around this whole thing? And I wanted to identify. Now, if you're over 50, you're probably going to get like 4 to 6 financial storms in your lifetime. So that's why we're talking about this.
So let's define that, right?
Yeah.
What I say is, look, if you're over 50, based on past history, we know that in retirement, you might face 4 to 6 major financial storms in the market. That doesn't include other personal storms, like unexpected healthcare costs and tax issues. That's just talking about the market and the market volatility, like 2008.
Right.
So is your portfolio prepared for those storms? Have you planned? Because the older you get, the worse it is when you lose money, because it takes more time and energy to make that money back. And in 2008, I saw people living the most beautiful retirement lives. They were sitting there, traveling, visiting, doing what they wanted, and overnight their 401ks became 201ks.
I know.
And they go, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And they had to make cutbacks to their lifestyle. I saw people who wanted to retire in 3 to 5 years, and they're like, now they spent the last few years making their old money back.
Yeah.
So we have to prepare for those financial storms, so we want to stress how important it is to start planning.
Yes, and with that, there are a lot of people who have a hard time planning. I don't want to get this word wrong. So there's a word for it, a phobia, and it's real. It's not like it's called teleophobia, and it's the unreasonable. I'm going to read it. Teleophobia. Okay. It's the unreasonable and irrational fear of making definite plans. It's related to the fear of losing control, and it's similar to the fear of confinement of making commitments. The person feels restricted or tied down by other people's agenda. So some people have a real fear of planning. And the truth is, I find when people plan, it sets them free. It actually has the exact opposite of what they thought was going to happen. It really makes people feel better, but there is a real phobia around it.
So why do you think it's a phobia? I think there's a few things. Look, there's so much information out there. People don't know who to listen to.
This is true.
There's a trust issue. Who do you trust with your hard-earned money? Who do you listen to? Who's right? Who's wrong? And there's a lot of opinions. And I think that kind of confuses people. And a confused person doesn't plan. doesn't make decisions.
A confused person gets paralyzed and stops everything and completely.
I say this at our live events all the time. The number one thing that will kill your retirement plans is procrastination.
Yeah.
It is never too early to start planning in retirement, and it's never too late. Meaning, if you're even retired, sometimes the plans need to be looked at and adjusted as well.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to do it, and don't let the fear stop you.
I always say, start with the basics. Maybe write down a few ideas of how you see your retirement looking. Maybe you want to write down where you want to live, what you want to do. Just start simple. No need to get crazy. You don't need to write, a very intricate plan. But just thinking about it, just being aware of it is sometimes really, really helpful.
I would say most people, the biggest question I get is, do I have enough to retire with?
That is a big question.
And there's a way to, that's the wrong question to ask. Do I have enough to retire is the wrong question to ask. The question is, how much, based on what you have, what can you retire with? You follow me?
Yeah.
So, a lot of times you want to look at what you have, and then there's what we call two types of income in retirement. There's play money and pay money. And when you're looking at retirement planning, you want to cover your pay money. And your pay money is your basic necessities and expenses. Your heat, your taxes, your food, the things you need to keep a roof over your head.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea as you say that. Another planning tip, write down your budget. Write down what you're currently budgeting to pay right now, because those are stable things that are most likely not going to change after you retire.
So imagine if you had an income plan that guaranteed you income to cover your, what they call pay money.
The pay
so
money.
Your expenses are covered. Now you get to your play money.
Yeah.
And your play money is the money you want to use for your vacations, your entertainment, whatever you want to.
The fun.
And that could be the extra money that you use as needed, right?
Right.
So that's a good way of planning it too. Pay money and play money. And look, what you have, barring hitting the Powerball lottery.
Yeah.
When you're 15 over, you'll grow your money a little bit, hopefully, right?
Right.
But barring hitting the Powerball lottery, what you got is what you got, right?
What you got is what you
So
got.
you'll grow it maybe you'll lose it. I don't know in the market. That's the risky thing.
Yeah.
We help people build a rock-solid retirement plan based on protect, preserve, and grow.
Right.
However, when you set yourself up for enough income for your pay money, you're living a nice life that is peace of mind, and you can cover your expenses, and then you have the extra play money.
There's another phobia we talk about sometimes, and it's surrounding this inability to plan and inability to talk about retirement. And I don't know if any of you out there have this. I know that people have it when we do our live events. And I don't want to pronounce it wrong. It's chromatophobia.
Chromatophobia.
And
people are like, what are they talking about?
No, but it's real. And it's the fear of anything around money. Handling it, spending it, losing it, anything around money. And people really have this problem, keeps people up.
Sorry, I didn't mean
Yeah, that's okay.
No, I see the most of it is the fear of spending money. Because
that is so
we meet with people who have done tremendous during their lifetime.
Yes.
They've saved up, they have a nice nest egg. They're so afraid to spend it. Why? There's a study done that showed 62% of people are afraid of outliving their money. They're afraid they're going to have more life left at the end of their money than more money at the end of their life.
Yeah.
And it's bigger fear than death itself. So if someone has that fear and they have a nice nest egg build up, they might be afraid to spend it because they don't know if it's going to last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's called, to me, that's part of the chromatophobia.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
I think you did.
Yeah, which is a fear of spending money. And one of the things we try to do is set people up to give them permission so they can spend their money.
And that's where I really feel like a plan will set you free from some of these phobia problems, right? Getting the help of a professional, sitting down. People are worth it. They work their whole life, right? The worst thing to do is to spend your later years worrying about this kind of stuff and not enjoying and doing all the things you love, playing with your grandkids or your family, or visiting places. We had that client that wants to visit every baseball stadium. You just want to do what you love, and you don't want to have to worry about this. But these fears are real. I'm not, talking them down. But I feel like planning will set you free from some of this.
And I just want to mention there are a lot of financial products on the market today that can really help you plan. But the interesting thing is the younger and the sooner you do it, the more options are on the table. I say, take care of a problem before it becomes a crisis.
Yeah.
Because if we know we have a problem, we can solve it.
That's
but when
true.
it becomes a crisis, we can't solve it.
Yeah.
And the sooner you do it, there's more options on the table for you. There's better options on the table. Not to say, look, if you need to adjust plans going forward, that happens too.
Yeah. I think retirement plans and really any financial portfolio plans have to be flexible to flex and bend with the current conditions that we face in the market, whether it be new things available, whether conditions change because of one of these financial storms. You need to be flexible with your planning, and that's why it's so important to work with somebody rather than trying to tackle it on your own. But if you do try to tackle it on your own, I think a great place to start is writing out all the things you have to pay for, the pay money you were talking about, and then writing out some of the play money ideas that you want and see where you are.
That's one part. Look, there's a lot of things to plan for. Income is one part, legacy is another part, how to reduce or eliminate taxes on your plan is another part, how to protect yourself from market volatility is another part, how to cover some unexpected health care. So there are a lot of things that are involved in it. And we just say, look, the sooner you start, the better. There's more options on the table. And look, more people sometimes spend more time planning their Thanksgiving dinner than their financial future. And it's your future. You want to make sure you do it right. You got one shot to do it.
I think that's a really great place to end this episode because that is a true sentiment, one that you and I both believe. It's your future, right? So we want to thank you for joining us today at Smart Retirement. We really hope that you got some great information. This is sponsored by Strategies for Wealth Management, and we're looking forward to bringing you some more really helpful retirement tips and planning ideas for your very optimistic, shiny, bright future. Have a great day. The preceding program was brought to you by Strategies for Wealth Management.
When we think of an iconic New England town green, we think of the place where people got together and maybe heard some music, heard someone give a speech, maybe get an award. Times have changed, but the digital town green still brings all those stories, all those voices back to a central location. Nutmeg TV has been providing community television for over 30 years. We provide great facilities and training and equipment to allow anyone to come in and produce TV programming for the community.
Whether you're a college student looking to get into this industry, or a senior citizen looking to learn a new skill set, we've made our equipment accessible to anybody.
Nutmeg TV is a family, and we embrace diversity, and we work with folks from all walks of life. And it's our job to make these studios available for anyone to use. We educate folks in how to do TV production, podcasting, etc., and so they can go on to other careers in the TV business. Nutmeg TV is really blessed to have a great group of folks who work here. We have a culture at Nutmeg TV that is set from the moment you walk in the door for positivity all day long. Each and every day, we are affecting the community in which we live. We needed some studio upgrades, and we were able to get a grant with the state of Connecticut, but we needed that extra bit of cash in order to get over the hump. As you know, technology is very costly, and we needed to do that. And Ion Bank believed in us. They believed in us, they believed in the project. They came down, they took a look at what we needed, and they said, you know what, we can help get you the rest of the way. As a result of Ion Bank's financial help, we've been able to help others move on in a field that's difficult to get experience in. It's very important when you're a business that works in the community and for the community that you're working with partners who understand who you are. And Ion Bank does that. They walk with us every day. Community is important, and Ion gets community, and they get Nutmeg TV. It's community banking at its best.
I'm your host, Kurt Barwis. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Andrew Lin.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name's Chuck Wooden.
Decision for ourselves for this week, if we want to be made well.
Hi,
welcome to the crack of dawn. It's Dawn Lombardi. I'm starting the painting. It's going to be the clips with some water. Love it.
He took me on the sets of Lost in Space, Batman.
Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time.